to Huddle Up here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage, especially the Cincinnati Bengals. And it has been a week of signings, free agent signings, but it's unbelievable. And I want to get in and we didn't talk about this off the air, but I just thought of something. Mizzou gets bowl eligible, okay, and had an opportunity to play Kansas in a bowl game, and they declined to play Kansas, and now they're going to the Gasparillo Bowl and playing East Carolina. I don't know what your thoughts out there in the world, but what a chicken butt move by Mizzou and they blame it on, well, we want to play a bowl game before Christmas, and get our guys home for Christmas. Bull, you just don't want to play Kansas.
I honestly, they play Wake Forest, I believe, in the Gasparilla Bowl.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's Wake Forest, and I'll be honest with you, I think it was a shot across the bow at Bill Self when he wouldn't schedule, a home and away with Mizzou once Mizzou left for the SEC. I think that was just pretty much payback. Mizzou was being called out, but I think in the long run, it was a shot across the bow at Bill Self. And, it's kind of ironic. Now, I think they play each other coming up. Maybe I may be wrong on that. It may be on the girls' side, but I did see where KU's playing Mizzou one way or the other. But, that was interesting. You called it last week. You said those two would be matched up in a bowl, and Mizzou happily declined and chose the Gasparilla Bowl. And what's ironic is if I'm not mistaken, KU ends up playing Arkansas in whatever bowl, that Music City Bowl or Liberty Bowl, one or the other. Liberty Bowl, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. I have not looked at. There's 47 bowl games. So there's going to be teams that are
right.
bowl eligible that are playing in bowl games.
Right. But it's kind of funny that the team that Mizzou beat in the final week of the season to be bowl eligible is who KU ends up playing. So I honestly think that was just it was kind of a payback from Bill Self not wanting to play Mizzou when they left for the SEC.
Yeah, and it's they want to pull this. Well, we're in the SEC. We're not going to play, and then they play Wake Forest, same conference.
Right.
It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And I know I'm not a Mizzou homer, or I'm definitely not a KU homer.
Right.
But I just thought it was kind of a chicken bleep move to just say no. And talk about recruiting. Well, we're not really recruiting against them. Well, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Your schools are 200 miles apart, if that.
Yeah, that whole Kansas City market on both sides of the state line in their recruiting. I can promise you that, because there's a lot of talent all up and down that state line, and they're full of it if that's what they're saying.
Well, and two different markets. I mean, it's Kansas City's all about where you went to college. Did you go? Where did you go to KU? Did you go to K State? Did you go to MU? Did you go to UMKC? Did you go to Mid America? It's St. Louis area. It's all about where you went to high school. Did you go to CBC? Did you go to DeSmet? And it's just two different kind of markets there. And Columbia's right in the middle. And Drinkowitz, he got the extension on his contract, and then they go out and blow a game against Kentucky that same day that he gets that extension, and had the running into the unfortunate running into the punter penalty in that game, which was actually correct. The way that it was called was correct. Just unfortunate for that particular player. He didn't know. He was just trying to get to the ball. But anyway, so Mizzou and Kansas will be in bowl games, are just not against one another. And moving into the Chiefs, and again, you're listening to and watching Huddle Up with Darin Archer and Guy Newcomb here on the Missouri Sports Network. Johnny McNeil unable to be with us tonight. We look forward to his return. Had a big weekend, lots of traveling, and got to catch up with him in his office, and he had a lot of catching up to do there at his office, and just unable to get to us. But Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. This is the third time, I believe, in a calendar year that Cincinnati has beaten the Chiefs. Now, this game was in Cincinnati, and people want to talk about, that hey, the Burrows, Mahomes matchup being Brady and Manning. Well, it's not that. Number one, Burrows hadn't won a Super Bowl yet. Mahomes has won a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl MVP. He's won a league MVP. But Cincinnati's just got the Chiefs number.
They do. Like you said, it's not a Burrow is better than Mahomes. I think we can put that, that statement to rest and to bed. That's definitely not the case. I think it all boils down to there's some tough matchups, and Cincinnati is starting to find their groove a little bit. They're playing really, really good football right now, especially on the offensive end, offensive side of the ball. They've got some guys coming back from injury. They're starting. They had a lot of new faces at the beginning of the year, and starting to mesh, and they're going to be a tough out once again come playoff time. And that was a tough one for the Chiefs to lose. But on the other hand, the schedule, we talked about earlier, the schedule really plays in Kansas City's favor to host throughout the AFC playoffs.
Well, yeah, when you get to play Denver twice in your last 5 games, there's 2 wins you don't even have to show up for. They have just been awful all season. And they've got Seattle, I believe, as part of that as well. They've got they may finish with the Chargers, which will be
Las Vegas. Yeah, they finish up with Las Vegas
Raiders. And so,
yeah.
Going back to Sunday, you've got that 4th down and 7. You don't go for it. You bring out Harrison Butker to kick a 55-yard field goal, low snap, and that's tough to handle. Having been a holder at the high school and the college level, you get a high snap is a lot easier to handle, to get down. A low snap, he didn't quite get those laces turned, and you can't blame it on the holder. But would you rather put that at that point in the game? Would you rather put that in Patrick Mahomes' hands and let him just, take a shot, and maybe he gets a first down there and they can eat up the rest of the clock? They get a little closer maybe, or they get in the end zone. And I'm not going to second guess Andy Reid,
right.
Hall of Fame coach, but just as a fan, you thought, especially when he misses it. If he makes it, that's a great call. But hindsight, everywhere is 2020. But and your thoughts, and I didn't get to see it because of the feud going on between Color 10 and DirecTV. So I was listening to it. But, what are your thoughts there? Do you keep it in Mahomes' hand, or do you kick the 55-yard field goal? And he's kicked some field goals. He's probably missed more extra points than he's missed field goals.
Right. Yeah. Butker's healthy. In a perfect scenario, he's going to put that through 90% of the time. It just happened to be that 10% that caught him right there, and it changed the tide of the game. Really changed momentum. And I agree with the call. Butker is a good card to have in your hand in close situations like that. And like I said, I think it was just unfortunate snap. Laces weren't turned, and he didn't put it through the uprights. And once again, tough loss, but still a lot of football left to be played. It moves them into a tie with Buffalo. And I think by virtue of tiebreaker, did we agree that Buffalo now has home field advantage throughout?
Yeah, they're number 1 seed right now because they beat the Chiefs early in the season, 24-20. Both teams 9-3, and you've got one of those 3 losses for Buffalo is also to Cincinnati.
Right.
And the team that beat Cincinnati is Miami. That's in Buffalo's. They're 8-4, and who saw that coming? And they've got New England. I think at the bottom there, in that division, as you look, excuse me, as you look at Patriots are 6-6. They're at the bottom of that league. Jets 7-5, Dolphins 8-4, and the Bills 9-3. So that AFC East probably the best division in football, and everybody thought coming into it that it was going to be that AFC West. And you've got just the Chiefs are the only team over 500.
Right. That's amazing to me. That's amazing to me. I think we all agreed at the beginning of the season when we were talking about what to look forward to. We really thought that, hey, it's going to be the last shootout at the OK Corral every week in the AFC West, and hasn't turned out that way, which is really, really surprising. But it's hard to think that maybe Baltimore could have a say in things if they get healthy. But you got to think it's going to come down between Cincinnati, Kansas City, and Buffalo. And I still believe home field advantage throughout is going to be very, very important.
It is indeed. Then you look at the NFC and the Eagles. Jalen Hurts is playing out of his mind, and they're 5-0 on the road. They've won 3 in a row, but the Cowboys are staying with them. They've won 3. Well, they've won 3 in a row as well. They're 9-3, and they're probably the 2 seed, but they're not going to be because they're not going to win the division. I mean, your 2 seed right now, the Vikings, who are 10-2, there, and they've won 2 in a row. They're 6-1 at home. And Kirk Cousins, good grief, the guy just keeps winning, and he's a fantasy league quarterback. Well, he's not on my fantasy team. My quarterbacks are Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, and I've been trying to trade one of them because I need a running back or a wide receiver because Cooper Kupp is done.
Yeah,
and we're getting ready to start our playoffs. Here in our league, and it's a mess trying to, and that I can't get everybody in the league. I tried to trade Mahomes to Derek Barnes. He's in our league, and Sean Barber and Dana Hughes blocked it. No, you're not giving him Mahomes. I got Jalen Hurts as a backup.
Yeah.
And which he should be starting because he had 34 points last week and Mahomes had 16. But anyway, moving into baseball, a lot of hot stove league going on right now. You're just coming out of the winter meetings, and you've got several free agents out there. You had a couple of major signings just in the last few days. Today, you get Wilson Contreras going from the Cubs to the Cardinals, 5-year, $87 million deal. You're a Cubs fan.
Yes.
What is Wilson Contreras going to do for the Cardinals?
He's going to be a good bat in the lineup. Very solid bat in the lineup. He's going to be a good leader in the clubhouse. Not that St. Louis necessarily needs one, but he's just a natural leader, and he plays with his hair on fire. He plays with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, loves the game. He was a fan favorite in Chicago. That is a good pickup, I think, for the next 2 or 3 years for the Cardinals. He's 31, which doesn't sound old, but as in age, as far as catchers are concerned, that's pretty old. And he was an everyday catcher for 4 or 5 years. The one thing that's concerning to me is that the Cubs couldn't get him traded at the deadline this past year, and they tried. I don't know if that's a knock on Chicago wanting too much for him, or if the league, the word was out on him that he just not a very good defensive catcher. He, like we talked about earlier, he has trouble framing the ball, has trouble, throwing base stealers out. Now, he loves throwing behind the runner at first base, but sometimes that ends out in right field somewhere. But good pickup for the Cardinals.
Yeah, this year, 2022, he played 113 games, hit 243 with 22 home runs and 55 RBIs for Wilson Contreras. And you mentioned that clubhouse, and the Cardinals lost a lot as far as leadership. With Pujols and Molina stepping away, that was the two bona fide leaders of that club, along with Wainwright there, who is coming back, but they need somebody, and they've got a Nolan Arenado, who I think will really fit into that and take that role over nicely. Maybe the best defensive third baseman that the Cardinals have had since Scott Rowland, Terry Pendleton, going back, and probably of the last 2 decades, maybe the best defensive third baseman in the league. And he's going
in
to,
the league. In the
yes,
league, I agree.
and I mean, he's going to hit 30 home runs. He's going to drive in 100. I just think you've got to get some protection for he and Goldschmidt. They cannot continue to protect each other. There's got to be another guy in that lineup.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think Willie Contreras is that guy. Like I said, offensively, he is very, very good. And his stats from last year, I think late May, they started sitting him a lot, playing him a lot as DH. Obviously, with the DH coming in the National League, so he did not spend a whole lot of time behind the plate like he normally did years leading up to that last year. So he should be well rested, well healed. Um, hasn't been very injury prone. He's a pretty rugged catcher. My biggest concern is I think what they signed him for 6 years? No,
5 years, 87
5 years.
and a half
Correct.
million.
Correct. Yeah, and he'll be 31 in May. And like I said, if you're a position player, that's not real old. But if you're, a catcher, that's kind of getting up there in age. The kicker is that he can probably be a very good DH and protect guys like Goldschmidt, Arenado, and uh, he's a good pickup, great pickup as far as
Yeah,
catchers are concerned.
and his best offensive season as far as batting average was his rookie year, where he hit 282. He's hitting 256, as a lifetime batting average. But he's going to hit. Um, and you worry about the injuries maybe, but he's not really had a lot of injuries.
No,
He played 57 games in 2020, but that's shortened by COVID. The
right.
last 2 seasons, he played 128 and 113. So I think he's okay there for the long haul. They've got Kinzer to back him up, but Kinzer's not an everyday catcher at the major league level. But the other signings that, one that I was amazed at, you go back to day one of the Major League Baseball season where the Yankees offered Aaron Judge $213 million, and he declined it. And he bet on himself, and that may have been the best bet in history outside of betting on the USA 1980 hockey team.
Right.
It, he had maybe the greatest year ever in professional baseball with the 62 home runs. He hit 311. Um, he walked 111 times, and a lot of that was late in the season. Um, and there were folks that when Matt Carpenter went down, broke his foot in Seattle, he was great protection for him. I mean, he had, and probably is the comeback player of the year. I don't know if that's been voted on yet, but you look at the numbers that Carpenter put up, and then he goes down, and he was kind of that protection for Judge, especially at home with that short porch in right field. And then teams started to kind of, we're not going to pitch to him. And then it came down towards the end of the year where he could get to 62, and I think people felt obligated,
Yeah.
to pitch to him and give him that shot. But to get that, I think he had more leverage on the Yankees than any player in Yankee history. And I'm going back to Ruth and Gehrig, DiMaggio, Mantle, and Jeter. With the year that he put up, and I was not really all that surprised that he stayed. Yankees have got the money, but he's a Fresno State guy. He's from California. I thought he's going to end up with the Dodgers or the Padres.
Yeah, I
and
really thought he was going to end up with the Giants,
or the
and
Giants. Yep.
and that is not a hitter friendly ballpark, and that may be what kept him from signing with the Giants because I think they were throwing out big money too. But I think Steinbrenner kind of painted himself in a corner this summer when he said we want to make Judge a Yankee for life. Well, you've got him.
Yeah, and he's with his makeup and that contract, he's likely to become the fifth Yankee captain in history. I mean, they just have not had captains.
Yeah.
You go back. I mean, Babe Ruth was not a Yankee captain. It was Lou Gehrig was that captain, and he may have been the second captain there for the Yankees. And then you go to DiMaggio, and then I think you go all the way from DiMaggio. I think Thurman Munson was a captain until he got killed in the plane crash.
Right.
And then there was one between he and Jeter, and that was your first baseman and his name,
Mattingly.
Don Mattingly.
Don Mattingly. Mm-hmm.
Yep, he was a captain.
Who I think should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I was glad to see the Crime Dog get in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Hey, Atlanta's not Atlanta if the Crime Dog's not on that team, and
right.
Yeah, I was awful happy to see that too.
Well, and I think of that era, and you think of, I mean, that's kind of the beginning of the steroid era, and he was never attached to that. But you think of those guys that didn't do that have never been attached to that. And, Jim Edmonds is one that comes up.
Right.
That numbers wise, had they not been competing against guys who were on steroids that were putting up unbelievable numbers in that era, then they would probably be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But because they had to compete against guys who were not doing it fairly, because a lot of times when the Hall of Fame looks at it, they look at those numbers versus your era. And I mean, outside of, Ken Griffey Jr., obviously not attached to those at all. But when you've got Bonds and you've got Palmeiro and you've got McGuire and Sosa that are in that era that just were putting up numbers better than him. He had 493 home runs in his career.
Yeah.
Braves don't win a World Series without him.
Exactly.
And it's a shame that it took him this long, but he does get in. And so congratulations, Fred McGriff, is who we're talking about, the Crime Dog. But going back to the signings, and Justin Verlander, he goes to the Mets. I mean, he's 40 years old, but he is now tied as the highest paid player in Major League Baseball with Max Scherzer at $43.33 million per year. It is, you're talking about like $3.8 million per month year round, but the baseball players are just paid during the season. So he's going to collect 70, I think almost $75 million a month during the season. That's $2.5 million per day. They, I mean, can you imagine what that would be? Now I know the taxes are going to eat it up. Your agents are going to eat stuff up, but it's just absolutely ridiculous. And then with the Aaron Judge contract today, he jumps into third ahead of Anthony Rendon and Mike Trout, who are on the same team, and who has not been in a playoff game. At least Verlander's won a World Series. Scherzer's won a World Series, been in the playoffs. Rendon, I think he won a World Series with maybe the Marlins.
Well, and I think that shows you the importance placed on pitching, starting pitching, and those guys that if you get to the World Series or you get to even in the playoffs that can close out that game 5 or game 7, depending on what playoff series you're in. Guys like that are going to make money, and they're both proven. Scherzer and Verlander, they've done it in the past, and they've still got gas in the tank, and Teams think they're worth that money. Crazy.
Well, I tell you what, it's amazing what they get. You look at, the top. Let's see, just look at the top 10 highest paid players in the game right now, and you've got, excuse me, Steven Strasburg, number 10. He's a pitcher. Trevor Bauer, who hasn't done anything.
Well, you take a look at those two. Okay, Bauer has pretty much been booted from the league. He was making all kinds of money. Had $1 million arm and a 10-cent head. But you take a look at Strasburg. Ever since he signed that contract, he's been on the shelf with an injury practically every year. That is a ton of money going out the door for players who aren't playing. And I'm sure Bauer, when he was released, they did not have to pay him out because of the circumstances. I'm sure that there's that clause written in every contract that situations like that, you're not getting paid.
Yeah, I don't know. The baseball union is probably the strongest union in the country.
True.
And you got Garrett Cole at number 5, Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer at number 1 and number 1A, making the exact same money per year. And Scherzer 38, Justin Verlander is 40.
And didn't you say the Mets signed Quintana today?
I did not see that.
Somebody I thought said the Mets signed. I'm pretty sure the Mets signed Quintana to a 2 or 3 year deal. The Mets are loading up for bear as far as their pitching staff is concerned.
Yeah, Quintana. I mean, that's a guy from the Cardinals,
right?
Who had some pretty good. And I don't know what the Cardinal situation is right now, but they're going to have to go out and get an arm if they've lost him. They needed an arm before with him.
Yeah,
they needed another arm.
Yeah.
Thoughts from this past week? High school football state championships are all in the books right now. Had some tremendous games going back to that Class 6 state championship between CBC and Lutheran or Liberty North.
Lee Summit North. Yes. Yeah.
And, overtime game there. Felt just terrible for the kid that missed 2 field goals under 20 yards.
Yeah.
One was missed and one was blocked. But, CBC gets their 3rd title in 5 years. Coach Scott Pingle, we've had on a time or two. Then you go into the 8-man through Class 5 state state championships this past weekend. And maybe the game of the weekend was Lamar and Blair Oaks. And, Dylan Hare, who's a 2-time Chevelers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week, had an incredible day there. And I found out today, actually found out last night, he didn't play in the basketball game last night because he had a broken nose, and he played the whole second half with a broken nose in the state championship game.
Gosh. Well, you take a look at Blair Oaks in general. This fall, they won football state championship, volleyball state championship, and softball state championship.
Yep.
I mean, that's incredible from a high school.
Yeah. And, Clay Crouch.
Clay does a great job. But, I mean, you think about winning a volleyball and a softball state championship in the same year during the same season, the number of incredible athletes they have to win those 2 state championships, which are your major sports in the fall, to win both of them in your class. It's incredible.
Yeah. I've been to the school, went up, I met Clay. Clay Crouch is a Wheatland product. Saw him play a lot of basketball games, tremendous competitor on the basketball court.
He was a good one. He was a good player. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe one of their all-time leading scorers. I shouldn't say maybe. He is one of their all-time leading scorers. I don't know if he's the all-time leading scorer at Wheatland, but he's done a tremendous job, promoting the programs and getting coaches. And you bring in Ted LePage on the football side. It's this guy, Jeff City. Yeah. He was a coach at Jeff City, and comes in and really turns that program around there. And that Dylan Hare doesn't hurt.
Right. All the Hare boys didn't hurt. There were 3 or 4 of them that went through and had a lot of success. And
Dylan, the only player in Misha history to pass for 10,000 yards and rush for 5,000 yards in his career.
That's just a crazy stat.
And in the semifinal game, at 631 yards of offense against Bowling Green, and that was a fun game to watch.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
back and forth, but
Yeah. Hurry up and score so we can go do the same.
yeah, it was fun. And then they get that Lamar team, and Lamar, last year, they get the 12 men on the field on the last play of the game and don't get a flag.
Right.
This year, on the biggest play of the game and late in the fourth quarter, it's fourth down, and they run a little screenplay, but they get two offensive linemen downfield. And it was on the film.
Yeah, it was. It was.
And I mean, it was a legitimate call. It's just a tough way to go to get one no call and then one call.
Right. Right.
But now we're in the basketball season. A lot of Christmas tournaments coming up, and it's just going to be swamped. And if you enjoy basketball and you can't find something to do, you're not looking.
That's right. That's right. Even in your own backyard, the basketball season is in full swing, and first state rankings came out, and not too many surprises on boys and girls side both, but it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. I mean, when you take a look at those rankings at the beginning of the season and compare them to the last ranking, usually there's a lot of shuffling that goes on, and it's going to be interesting to see. There's a lot of good teams throughout the state at every level. Going to be, and on both the boys and girls side, it's going to be a fun year to watch some awfully good basketball around the state.
Well, as we wrap this up, what are you going to be paying attention to? What's on your mind here in the next week? What are some things that you're going to, really take a look at and concentrate on?
Gosh, I think there's a lot at the college level. You take a look at D2 basketball in this state. UMSL, I think, latest ranking is number 11 on the men's side. Northwest Missouri State, number 1, no shocker. SBU has been ranked. Don't sleep on one Division I team that I don't want anybody to sleep on this state, and that's St. Louis University. They're 7-3, and their 3 losses have come to Maryland, at Auburn by 5, and they lost to Iona last night, I believe, or a couple nights ago. Which is where Rick Pitino's coaching. So they've played a front-heavy schedule, and they've got to be knocking on the door in that A10. He's done an incredible job with that program up there.
Yeah, you look at Mizzou off to an 8-0 start, in their league, and even just a little bit south of the border, Arkansas, who was thought coming in they may be a preseason number 1, and then they take a huge hit last night with Springfield product, Trayvon Brazil tearing his ACL. He's done for the season. And, that is a huge hit, not only to him personally, but to the Razorbacks. And, Philip Brazil, who, is a Southwest Baptist guy here in Bolivar, Missouri, where we're doing the show from. I have got to talk to Philip, but I know that they are devastated, about that injury, taking him out, a guy who had right now it's the dunk of the year.
Yeah.
That just, it just went worldwide. I mean, it went ballistic there, when he did that. And he didn't even realize he had done it until he saw it on film. And that's just the sign of a tremendous athlete. And I was talking at the tip-off club with his high school basketball coach, Coach McHenry. And I said, did you see this coming? And he goes, not really. He just really blossomed.
Yeah.
And he said he's just such a nice kid and unassuming that he would do things just instinctively, and then he'd look back and said, did I do that? I mean, but he's still, hopefully he gets back as healthy as he can and as quick as he can. But I know with ACL injury, he's not going to play again this year.
No. Headlines read that he was done for the year, and that's like you said, that's a big blow. Arkansas still is pretty daggum good. And that's going to be another interesting thing to see. There's been a lot of upsets, a lot of teams going down so far this year around the state. Pretty much everybody, Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, are all in conference play. So that's starting to heat up a little bit. Division One, there's kind of a lull in the schedule right now due to finals starting to go on. But here in about a week or two, it is going to be fun basketball at the college level around the state.
Yeah, same thing going into the holiday tournaments at the high school level with the blue and gold, the pink and white, the William Jewell Christmas Classic that they host. Kabul hosts a tournament. Walnut Grove.
Couple really good tournaments down in the Boot Hill area. Several good tournaments in the St. Louis area. It's just a great time if you're a basketball fan.
You bet. Well, hey, as always, our thoughts and prayers are with our good friend Art Haynes. He was sat up in a chair a little bit. I saw a picture of him today, and KY3 actually did a really nice little segment on him, and he looks good. Yeah. He's just got to get stronger and healthier and get rid of that pneumonia. They're going to move him here probably in the next 7 to 10 days to another facility that specializes in rehabilitation. But so thoughts and prayers are with Art Haynes as well. And well, DA, we've come to an end of episode number 7, I believe, of Huddle Up.
That's correct. We'll keep them coming. Having a lot of fun doing it. Hope you enjoyed as much as we are bringing it to you, and looking forward to getting J-Mac back next week.
You bet. Hey, hope everybody has a great day. Be careful. Be careful out there. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe. Be smart.